On Fanalysis, we take the stats born in fantasy football combined with the latest betting trends to find the sharpest angles every week. And for that, we turn to the lead betting analyst from Pickswise, Jared Smith. Jared, let's talk about the Jets and the Giants. And let's start off with the Jets, who are now home dogs against the Lions. This line switched from Jets -1.5 to +1.5 after the news of Mike White's status. He will be out for the game. It's going to be Zach Wilson as the starting quarterback. That actually puts Mike White on the same level of value as Trevor Lawrence in point value at 2 points. So how accurate is that? When you see other guys like, Tom Brady might be a 4-point swing if he can't play in the game. But this is a 2-point swing because of Mike White. Does that feel accurate?
We saw this last week with Lamar Jackson and Tyler Huntley. There was almost an 8-point move there, and I thought it was too many points, and turned out to be the right side. Baltimore wins a tight game, and I think 3 would be the absolute max. It's looking more like 2 here. But 3, I think, is fair because Zach Wilson's numbers have been really bad this year. When you adjust for schedule, it's a little more even, and Mike White's not so far ahead of the curve because, again, the teams that Zach Wilson faced in that middle stretch of the season. Remember, this is the 4th quarterback, move we had. It was Flacco and then Wilson, then White, now back to Wilson. So it's been a revolving door. But that middle chunk of the season for Zach Wilson, couple of games against the Patriots, game against the Bills, some really tough matchups there. And then you adjust for schedule over the last couple of weeks. You've seen some easier opponents for Mike White, the Bears and the Vikings, of course, being the easiest, perhaps 2 of the worst secondaries in the league. And I think overall, I expect Zach, let's just leave it at this. I'm going to learn something from this performance with Zach Wilson this week. I think it's hard to say I know exactly how it's going to play out. I think the upside is still there. I think the tempo matters and the pace, and I think LaFleur's game plan matters. But we're going to learn something about the intestinal fortitude and about the growth and maturity of a kid that the Jets invested a top 5 pick in just a couple of short years ago.
Well, you know what we've learned from the Jets so far this year is they are in for giving guys second chances if they're ready to take advantage of it. We saw that with Elijah Moore, James Robinson, anybody that is going to bash the team or have an issue, they do have a possibility to come back. But moreover, I do want to take a deeper dive into what this game plan is because the statistics might support which way they're going to go because the average pass attempts when Flacco was the starting quarterback for the Jets was 51. When it was Mike White, the average pass attempts 43 rather. With Wilson, it's 27. Clearly, they have a much more, reserved passing attack when Wilson is in there. This is going to be a rush-first offense with Zach Wilson right now.
Yeah.
They want to pull the reins back. They just don't want him to mess the game up, more or less.
Exactly. And, we talked about it before we came on here. Quick, short passing games, screens, draws, timing stuff, get him comfortable early. And let's be honest, pound the rock. You've got a guy in the backfield, Zonovan Knight, that seems to be a hit. And it does happen, and, I think Joe Douglas deserves a lot of credit. It does happen where you take a guy and he fits the system and he understands what he's doing and he's tough as nails, and that's what Zonovan Knight has done. So I love what I'm seeing from him, the analytics pop, and his missed tackles rate, yards after first contact, all of that stuff is off the charts in his very short sample size, but very impressive. So I think that's the guy you lean on. We'll see which receiver is the favorite early. Again, if I'm Mike LaFleur, I'm trying to get everyone involved, and I want it to be quick, and I want it to be aggressive. I would go tempo. I would go no huddle. I would get Zach comfortable as early as possible in this game and run the ball against the Lions defense that's bottom 10 in basically every rushing analytic that I can find. So it's not this defense that's going to crowd the box and really create problems for you, in the middle. They're a defense that likes to blitz, and they're a little bit soft in the secondary. So play action could be a big factor here later in the game. And I want Zach on the edge. I want him rolling out and booting, and I want the tempo and I want the speed to be at a very crispy level early in this game.
Yeah, it also kind of stinks that Corey Davis will be out with a head injury once again, and he was a big help as a wide receiver that could block downfield on the run plays. So I guess it's going to be on to Bam to break those tackles on his own, which, by the way, he's been doing a great job this year. All right, now to the Giants in Washington against the Commanders. Spread is at 4.5. Just 2 weeks ago, they tied, and Washington hasn't played since then. Does that influence your pick?
Absolutely. Probably one of the most bizarre scheduling quirks that I can recall. I do remember, and I might, it's been a lot of games over the years. There's been times where you faced a team in back-to-back weeks, but I don't recall a time where one team has and the other team hasn't because of a bye in between.
Right.
That's unique to me. And I think in the playoffs, it's perhaps happened at some point in time. But in the regular season, this has to be one of the quirkiest spots of this season for sure, maybe perhaps of recent memory. Washington's had now 3 weeks to get into the Giants handicap because it was 3 weeks ago they played them, then they had the week off, planning for that. Maybe they took some time away, and then now this week. So third consecutive week that Washington's been able to sink their teeth into this Giants game plan, whereas the Giants, it's been a struggle, right? They tie that game. They've lost 3 of their last 4, the one non-loss being the tie, and then they follow that up with another stinker the following week, and now they're fighting for their playoff lives. So this is a Giants team that I'm worried about right now, and we've been kind of hitting the sell button the last month or so. I hit the sell button in Jacksonville. It didn't work out. The following week in Seattle, it did. Since then, the only positive result's been the tie. So I don't know how much they have left in the tank. The offense kind of holding it together with gum and Elmer's glue. Not a lot of talent, but a great scheme. And we'll see what they scheme up in this game. But I think Washington's the right side here.
It's not even duct tape. You could even trust duct tape more than gum and glue. That's even worse. And you're right though, because
bubble yum, yes. Big League Chew, maybe.
Oh yeah, that was the worst. Taste would be gone in 30 seconds. But nonetheless, they have only won once in the last 6 weeks. I'm talking about the Giants. But let's be honest, man. I mean, Washington's resume doesn't look so impressive. Their only impressive win was against the Eagles, which, by the way, is a very impressive win. But what have they done outside of that weird game that they played against the Eagles on Monday night?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at this Washington team, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors, too. They have a really solid front seven. They get into defensively. Ron Rivera is an experienced coach, but I think his decision-making certainly can be called into question. They don't call him Riverboat Ron for no reason, and that volatility is always kind of baked into the handicap of every game Washington plays. When is Ron going to make that interesting decision that either wins or costs his team the game? But defensively, they're a team that can control tempo. I think Taylor Heineke's been okay. The cast of characters around him is very solid. I love Jahan Dotson being a Penn State guy, but I think Terry McLaurin's really the star of that offense, and Brian Robinson's given them an emotional boost in the backfield. So there's some nice pieces around Heineke. The offensive line's been, I would say, leaky at best. But again, this is a team that relies on their defense to kind of guide them. And with the Giants being a team that is offensively challenged at times, I don't know how much movement they're going to be able to create. And I think that, especially if Chase Young plays, questionable there, but that could be another big boost, for this Washington team. But I find it hard to believe that Washington will play 2 games against the Giants in a 3-week stretch and not win either of them. So I feel like Commander's probably the right side here.
All right, so that's how he sees the Giants game. That's how he sees the Jets game. Make sure you check out our other segment on the Week 15 Best Bets. For Jared Smith and Pickswise, I'm Steve Overmyer. This is Fanalysis.